Welcome back to the channel. I trust that you're doing well. I know Bitcoin's doing well today, at least at the time of making this video. It is up about 3.5%. Recently, Bitcoin also just made some history, which we'll be covering in this video. And what is going on with the supply of Bitcoin? Is there enough supply for sovereigns, treasuries, institutions? What happens if the FOMO sapiens come back into the market? Is there even enough Bitcoin available for them on exchanges? We're going to cover all that and more in this video, so stick around and let's get into the video. The supply crunch for Bitcoin continues as we're now seeing this on OTC desks as well. We have a post here from Bitcoin News that Bitcoin OTC balances has dropped to a 10-year low of 156,600 BTC. Now that might sound like a lot of Bitcoin for you or me, but when you're talking about treasuries, sovereigns, institutions, that really isn't a lot of Bitcoin to go around. I mean, look at Michael Saylor with over 500,000 Bitcoin for strategy. That's just one buyer. So on this chart right here, we can see the price of Bitcoin in white just marching its way to the upside like Bitcoin likes to do. And in purple, we can see OTC from miners. So this is the supply of Bitcoin available on the OTC desks. And as you can see, it is just in a rapid decrease to the downside, and it's hitting that 10-year low. And moving right along, we have this post here from Cointelegraph saying that Bitcoin percent supply on exchanges has dropped to a near 7-year lows to 14.5% for the first time since August 2018. So not only do we have the supply drying up on OTC desks, but it's also drying up on exchanges as well. If we look at the line chart here, we can see that Bitcoin's price is in black, just marching its way to the upside. And in orange, we can see the percent balance held on exchanges, which has been in a very steep decline ever since 2022, reaching that 7-year low of 14.5%. You can see this little red circle over here. That's back in August 2018 when the percent supply was the same as it is right now. And as you can see that over time, Bitcoin moved much higher from that point. In all fairness, we did see Bitcoin sell off, but then after that little bit of sell-off, that bit of a fake out there, Bitcoin's price just went to the upside, reaching its all-time high at the time in 2021. So it's cycle top in 2021. Of course, we've recently taken out that high since. But interestingly enough, the percent supply is at the same levels of August 2018. So this chart is suggesting that even if we got a short-term sell-off for whatever reason, I'm not saying that's necessarily happening. I mean, today's been a great day for Bitcoin. I mean, bulls are putting in a massive green candle at the time of making this video. But whether it does do that with a quick fake out to the downside or just marches its way on up, this chart suggests that what comes next is likely some pretty interesting moves to the upside for Bitcoin. And moving right along to a post from Bitcoin Magazine Pro. After multiple months of short-term holder supply rapidly decreasing, are we now about to see a huge inflow of new market participants and retail FOMO? Well, if the population of the FOMO sapiens was to suddenly increase, remember, there isn't the same supply available to those FOMO sapiens as there was in the past. Bitcoin Magazine Pro goes on to say we're seeing a similar pattern to what we saw just prior to Bitcoin's previous rallies to new all-time highs. And if we take a look at the chart that Bitcoin Magazine Pro was kind enough to share, we can see Bitcoin's price here in black just marching its way to the upside, and down here in orange we can see the short-term holder supply. And pretty easy chart to understand. If we look at the black circles down below, we can see where the price of Bitcoin was right here. What came next? Pump to the upside. If we look at this circle right here on that higher low, Bitcoin's price was approximately in this area right here. What came next? Nice move to the upside. And here we are again, potentially respecting this upsloping trend line. Could this be putting in a bottom? And if so, are the FOMO sapiens about to re-enter the market? And if and when they do, remember, the same supply isn't available as it was before, and this could lead to a major imbalance between supply and demand, seeing Bitcoin to much higher price levels. So we'll certainly pay attention to this as it takes shape. And starting out with Bitcoin on a monthly time frame, because Bitcoin has recently just made history with this candle body closure right here. That is the highest candle body closure in the history of Bitcoin. And we can see that so far, Bitcoin is attempting some follow through ever since getting that candle body closure for the month of June. We also see that the macro monthly uptrend is nice and intact ever since Bitcoin put in its bottom from the bear market. We can see that it's gone on to print higher highs and higher lows along the way, and is currently working on yet again another higher high. We do see that at some point in time, Bitcoin does like to pull into the red 10 simple moving average. It's notable that no candle bodies close below it, but whether Bitcoin drifts into it sideways or pulls back to it, we can see that Bitcoin likes to pull into that 10 before producing its big moves to the upside. We can see we recently got that right back here, and now we're just getting a series of green candles to the upside as I speak. Now the red 10 simple moving average is down around 94,761, but whether Bitcoin just trades sideways up at this level or continues to the upside, this red 10 simple moving average will drift to the upside with price action. So if Bitcoin stays sideways here or moves up, the position of the red 10 simple moving average will definitely change and be at a higher value. Now let's quickly take a look at Bitcoin on the daily time frame, and we can see that the bulls are very active today, putting in this nice celery stick to the upside. In my past analysis, we've been looking at this midterm downtrend that the bears have been putting on the chart ever since Bitcoin printed its all-time high back here in May. And I've been saying that, hey, anyone operating with a bearish bias is likely on lower high watch in this area here, because if price action was to roll over from there, it would, technically speaking, be a lower high as opposed to this, and of course from the all-time high, meaning that the downtrend is still intact and that bears are still in control of this chart. Now anybody operating with a bullish bias is looking for a break of this midterm downtrend, and that comes right here at this pivot. So if Bitcoin starts getting above this pivot right here at 110,000, then it's fair to say that this midterm downtrend is becoming broken by the bulls. And right now, the bulls are certainly making an honest attempt at that. But in all fairness, if price action for whatever reason ends up failing in this area right here and rolls over, that's still technically a lower high in a series of lower highs. So it remains to be seen, and that's why I like to look for confirmations. We start seeing candle body closures above this level on good volume, then we can say, hey, look at that. The bulls are starting to undo this midterm downtrend and are taking over this chart. So right now, the bulls are making an impressive attempt at doing that, but it remains to be seen if that condition can be met. So we'll keep an eye on that for sure. Dropping down to the momentum, we see that the stochastic is in the extreme zone, but getting a nice fresh cross to the upside. And I'll point out that when Bitcoin begins to melt to the upside, that the daily stochastic can stay in the extreme zone for a long period of time. So I'm not overall worried about it being in the extreme zone right now. It is nice to see that cross to the upside though. So dropping down here to the RSI, we see the RSI is pointed straight up towards the edge of the bullish control zone. When it did get in the bearish control zone back here, it was immediately spat back out into the neutral zone, and we can see right now it is living above the EMA, which is positively sloped, and coming up on the edge of the bullish control zone. If the bulls keep up this buying momentum, the RSI has plenty of room to go here. So things are looking good on the RSI, looking better actually today than my previous analysis. Dropping down to the MACD, we see that the MACD has done a full reset down to the neutral zone, getting a fresh cross too not too long ago. It wasn't the strongest of crosses, but the MACD is building up a little bit of momentum here. You can see that the positive island on the histogram is getting larger. We can see that the moving averages are beginning to point up and spread away from each other. So things on the MACD are starting to look better as well. So basically what we're looking for here is we're looking for a break of this pivot right here at $110,000. Daily candle body closures, good volume, that's going to be looking quite good because technically speaking, that will be undoing or breaking this downtrend. So unless it's a fake out above those levels, that would be the bulls taking over and the sellers becoming exhausted. If Bitcoin starts busting up above its all-time high right here, so if we start seeing candle body closures above 112,000, then things are looking really good. And there's a huge chance at that point that Bitcoin goes back into price discovery and perhaps we even get a melt up phase. So let's keep a close eye on that. I'll come back to this chart, do more analysis throughout the week. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, Bitcoin having itself another good day today, at least at the time of making this video. Maybe by the time you're watching this video, Bitcoin's doing better, or maybe it's not doing so great. I have no idea, if only I had a crystal ball. But what are your thoughts? Are you bearish on Bitcoin, you think it's going lower? Or are you bullish on Bitcoin and you think it's going higher? Let me know in the comment section down below. Thanks so much for coming by and checking out this video. Looking forward to seeing you in the next one. And until I do, have yourself a powerful day.